I'm reminded that this session is actually all about extracting value from your real estate asset. As an asset manager, I'm already starting to twinkle with joy because so far we've learned how to motivate and incentivize our staff and nurture and cherish them and appreciate them. We've learned what you can do from a property management point of view to develop the brand and encourage the most amazing things to happen in a shopping center. And now with Mr. Rajendra Kalkar, who I'm asking to join me on stage, we're going to have a conversation. He's going to lead, and he's going to be talking about his experiences and his thoughts about how we set the future with respect to extracting value from these big, beautiful beasts of real estate shopping assets. Ladies and gentlemen, Rajendra. So here we all are. Good evening once again, and thank you very much for your attention. And Rajendra, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I think that it's a most unusual position for me to be in, to be seated next to you on this wonderful stage, and thank you for the honor. The extraction of value from shopping centers is a most interesting and important topic that faces us for the future. And I'm sure that your insights this evening will illuminate and will instruct all the participants here. I've got a series of questions to ask that we're going to discuss. And I'm going to open up our conversation with our first question. And that is that MSCI has, aside from 2 years of the COVID pandemic, acknowledged that retail mall investments are consistently the best class of real estate to invest in. Is this in India specifically due to their alignment with consumer trends and economic growth?
Wish you all a very good evening first. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you for, it's an honor to sit along with you, similarly for me. And thank you for joining us for a lovely evening. Before I answer, I think I would like to thank Gopal and Jayan. I think they gave a fantastic presentation. It was an eye-opener for everybody, a good knowledge base to acquire. Coming back to your question, Jonathan, COVID, why do I have to use such words, COVID? I think I have forgotten what it was. But to answer you, I think the best asset class, for that I would want to take, before I answer retail asset class, I think, it's important to understand how many kinds of asset classes are there which give you annuity income. See, one class is where you sell and make money. There is one class of an asset where you actually make annuity money. When you sell an asset, you realize the value instantly. And that's the end of it. And then somebody else realizes the capital valuation of that asset. In case of an annuity, say like a retail or an office block or some hotels or hospitals, or the upcoming annuity businesses like data centers or warehousing. These are all those annuity incomes where you get twin benefits. The first benefit is of the capital appreciation, which over a period of time can double, triple, depending on the business that you run there, depending on the location, depending on the land prices around you, and depending on all other economic and socio-economic and government developmental factors around that location. The second benefit that you get is the annuity income. If it's a real estate piece, even if you take an inflationary increase of 5% over the rentals, depending on the size of the asset, you really ensure that your income, annuity income, keeps growing at a pace which is surely at the speed of the inflation. And if you're a good operator, you can beat inflation and make a lot of good money out of it.
But is inflation the only measure for a shopping center's success?
No, so I'm generally talking about the annuity assets.
Yes.
For a shopping center, why people run after the annuity business of shopping center is for multiple reasons, and why typically in India. You know, if you look at the India today, I think the largest population of people under 35 is in India today. That's an extraordinary large volume. India is growing at a good pace as compared to all other countries in the world, whether it is Europe, US, or even China. I think last year India beat China also in the GDP growth. They say that the 5 trillion is not very far for India. With that kind of depth in the market, that kind of purchasing power of consumers, and that volume of purchasers, I think this is one of the best investment to be into, to ensure that you reap your returns on investment. This is one of the fastest way of doing it.
But Rajendra, if I may interject, annuity income is basically lettable income. What you're referring to with respect to growth is the wonderful ability of a retail mall to generate turnover rent, revenue share rents.
So that is the next part. What happens is, the moment you building a shopping center is part one of it. Building a good shopping center, running it properly, making sure that the consumption happens, making sure that all retailers do a fabulous business, and then you make money out of your turnover rent. That is the next part of the business. Turnover rent, there are hardly 100 shopping malls in India who actually are getting turnover rents. That's the real art for those 100 shopping centers. But I think in India today, given the scenario, I think just a good shopping center, whether you're able to achieve the turnover rent or not, is still a very, very good investment, because of the purchasing power that is available in the country for the next 10-15 years. The kind of customer, the youth that age is there, who's yearning for brands, and the economic growth that the country is witnessing. That itself is good enough for actually for investing in a shopping malls in the country.
So Rajendra, when I was back in Cape Town, I attended an MSCI. Does everybody know what MSCI is? It's an international benchmarking service, and they have a remarkable benchmarking service for property assets, for real estate, and they have focused a great deal of their effort into benchmarking and managing and monitoring the performance of shopping centers. Interesting, when I met with some of their executives in South Africa, they all conceded that the black swan event that we now call COVID was awful for their favorite real estate asset class. Everybody loves shopping centers because you're able to get a return on investment over and above the normal increase associated with a rental increase. Right? And during COVID, obviously, shopping centers were closed. So where did they get their returns? They ran into offices, and you know where that went. And they went to data centers, and some of them bought industrial. And industrial property has now become the flavor of the last 2 years. But it's interesting that some very smart investors out there are coming back to shopping centers.
And the most important part, if you see the last 2 years, or maybe the years post-COVID, the whole of Western world has gone into kind of not a recession, but degrowth. All the brands that were doing fantastic business in Europe, US, North America, I think they are itching to enter into a country where there is volume, where there is business. And I think no better country than India, because they have already explored China more. China is on a different platter right now. Russia is on a different platter. They are left with Brazil and India is way ahead of Brazil right now.
Well, if it was left to me and my money, I would always invest in India, just for one particular reason. Being a South African, I've been brought up that we drive on the correct side of the road. And I don't have to look the opposite way when I cross the road. I want to ask you about shopping centers, because they represent massive investments. They represent massive investments not only on your balance sheet, but they also represent a stupendous amount of money invested in one place, in the community in which they're found, in which they're located. Could malls, in your view, do more to encourage a closer engagement with the community in which they are found?
I'll answer you in two parts. One is the capital investment. Uh, it's people always calculate money by value of investment that you do. You don't calculate the time you invest in building a mall. So when you relate the real hard money as a capital and the time value of the money that you get in that you invest before opening the mall, I think it is humongous. It is quite high. So it is really, really very capital intensive. And once you invest that kind of a capital, you have to ensure that it succeeds. And there are various kinds of malls that people build. You build a destination mall, you build a city mall, you build a neighborhood mall. People talk about all the catchments of the mall: primary catchment, secondary catchment, tertiary catchment. But at the end, what it brings about is that it's a business which is within a few kilometers. It's not a business which is global in nature. So it can leave certain malls which are really global attractions, but those must be a 50 in the world. But most of the malls that you build are city-centric or state-centric from an India perspective. So you build a mall for a state, you build a mall for the city, or you build a mall for the neighborhood. Most of the investment where you really have to worry goes in a state-centric mall, and your whole catchment is the state and the city. And if you are not able to get the attention of those city and state people, your mall is going to fail. When you have to ensure success, I don't think business proposition is the only way that one can attract customers. You have to give them more than business, because in today's world, everything is available in a jiffy. I don't have to walk out of my bed also if I want anything at my bed delivered to me. That's the kind of world we are living in today. And to build that business with that kind of an investment and time and energy, you have to ensure that you become a part of the community. There's no way that you cannot be a part of the community. And there are a lot of ways how you become a part of the community, which is the real art of building that people around you. What Jain was showing you around how many things they have done as a mall, it was all a way of building community of in and around the mall, your own live brand ambassadors who are going around the city and talking about and walking about your mall. So community center concept is fantastic, that one thinks. I personally always believe that, as a Hindu Indian country, I call malls as modern mandirs. You have to go there once a week for all the duas that you need. Earlier, God used to give the duas. Today, for the kids of the Gen Z generation, the brands give the duas. So they are so close to their brands and their choices. So that's where that building of community comes, that if you are able to offer them what they are seeking for their pleasure, refreshment, time pass, meeting, socializing, office going, and whether it's a watching of movie, whether it is for dining, all those are a part of socializing, which what the word community means is, for those people, everything used to happen in that community. So you have to do many things to bring in that community. Lot of malls do many things to build that community, which includes programs like health awareness, people like programs like wellness programs, fitness programs, art installations, collaborative art projects, individual art projects, decors. I will give you one example right now. Just about last month, we did a beautiful installation. We called it as, it was a larger than life, about 40 feet, two structures, two women, Reva and Ria. Reva means water, Ria means river. In the month of monsoon, in collaboration with the Water Mother of India, we did a project for art attached with something for the society, what you call as what is the importance of water and how to harvest rainwater whenever you want. So this installation, Reva and Ria, the names also became the inspiration from the project Water. Jacqueline Fernandez had come to inaugurate the two art pieces, and the whole structure was built in such a way that whatever water they collected as a sculpture, it all percolated down in a catchment which we call as the rainwater harvesting. It was a simple project which any location, anywhere, anybody can build and store about 50,000 liters of water anytime. So when you build such relationships with the people, people started, and when it was not raining, we had requested people in the mall vicinity that when it is not raining, why don't you come and help us conserve water, help water. People came there. When they were dining in the restaurants, they did not let the bottles go waste. They bought their bottles, poured the water into those art sculptures. So it was really, we were surprised that customers are wanting to do such things just because we have taken an initiative.
Yes.
So building such initiatives along with them. About some few years ago, I remember we had a beautiful charity show along with the Sotheby's in the mall, and it became a raging success that people, and it was a charity of what? Worn out clothes of celebrities and Indian celebrities, and people bought them for, because the proceeds were going to an NGO, they just bought it. So that was like building a community around, getting people, and it was all neighborhood people who were doing all those things. A lot of educational programs you do. Last month we participated in something you called with Anand Mahindra and Anuradha Mahindra. They are promoting chess in a very large way. We had larger than life chess programs in the mall, and the programs were meant for local people in and around the mall. It was not a championship across the nation. The international championship happened in Dubai, but the selection of people happened from the vicinity of the mall. So a lot of local, these malls where you had lot of people who are from the underprivileged areas, from the socio-economic culture, they all came and participated in a manner, and we were also very happy that, we are playing our role in building up the society and getting such people on this platter. So these all things were very important and all these things, what I'm giving you examples are the places how you can build a community around your shopping center.
Yeah, it's a big thing to locate a substantial piece of cement and steel and glass into a community, and then to breathe life into that property. Not least of all with your retailers and the staff and the customers, but with all these wonderful services and community engagements. I have an example for you, if I may. In Johannesburg, South Africa, is a shopping center called Cresta. And in its fourth extension, taking it to just about 140,000 square meters in size. The then center manager, a very keen runner, worked out that he had a walkway from one end of the center all the way through to the other of just short of 1 kilometer. Can you imagine that? A long, thin shopping center of about 1,000 meters. And he'd been at a barbecue that weekend, and somebody had said, Johannesburg weather, it's cold in summer, hot in winter, cold in winter, hot in summer, and then, you've got security issues. What a pity we can't walk in a shopping center. So he started a new NGO called Walk for Life. And people started coming to the shopping center at 6 o'clock. They would walk 1 kilometer to the end, another kilometer to the end on the top, and then they would end up doing 4 kilometers in the shopping center, and there would be 3 or 4 restaurants, coffee shops open to facilitate teas and coffees and breakfasts. That, for me, is the epitome of real estate in the service of the community. Wouldn't you agree?
100%.
I'm thinking that when we look at the role that real estate serves, and particularly these big shopping centers serve in the communities, there must be something more about what they represent. I think I'm alluding to the environmental, the social, and the governance component. Can you tell us a little bit about what you are doing in your portfolios?
Before I will have to educate a little. I think people understand ESG as a completely different thing. and they really misunderstand ESG. Everybody thinks ESG is, water, power, green, and I think that's where people think that ESG ends. That is only a very small part of environment, social, governance. These are three words: environment, social, and governance. What these three words indicate is, one, what your organization will do for the environment, what your organization will do for the social of the people, and what your organization will do for the governance of the surroundings and the business that you're running. People only talk about the E and they completely forget about the S and the G. Whereas S and the G are more difficult because you have to have a commitment towards it. E is very easy, you just have to invest. So, people misunderstand, and that's where, as a concept, I think perhaps we have to come back and say ESG stands for environmental, social, governance, and not just environment. And that's where I think we have to make the difference, that we have to start with the G rather than start with the E. Governance means what all you do within your organization as a law-abiding organization. It starts from there. As a law-abiding organization, what you do for the government, what you do for the society, what you do for your employees, what you do for your vendors, what you do for your suppliers. I think it starts from there. And that's where you have to start thinking. And unless you start from there, you will never reach the S and the E. Unless you are just interested in the E, where is green energy and social and water harvesting and all those, very famous words that people use. They are important. I'm not saying they are not important. The green cover, or using friendly power, using water, using recycling, using many other things like LEDs or many other products which we can, keep on discussing. But the point is, the social and the governance is losing that focus when people talk ESG. Governance means what? How you treat your employees, what you pay, how you are, what social means how you pay, what Jain explained, that how they have done, suppose, the sanitary napkin pad. I think that's a beautiful example of how socially an organization can be responsible. That's how you have to approach the entire process. Lot of international funds actually are focusing a lot on ESG compliant organizations. So, there is a fund which has come up in the market. They will invest only in ESG compliant companies. There are a lot of international funds who will invest in your organization only if you have a commitment towards ESG. So ESG, carbon neutral, when can your organization become carbon neutral has become the buzzword. But I think that's where the mistaken identity of ESG is, that that's not the only criteria for ESG.
We agree entirely. And as a South African, I look at the whole principle of ESG with a little e. The environment is exceptionally important to us, but it is actually very, very well subscribed as an idea, isn't it? It's the thing that everybody has caught in their mind. They're captivated by the environment. In many respects, there's a lot of greenwashing around. I am deeply concerned, like you, about the governance and the sustainability and the socialization component. In the work that we do at the University of Cape Town, for example, we talk about little e, big S, big G. Because in our sorts of economies, the governance is exceptionally important. It's, as Jayan spoke earlier, about the processes and the procedures to ensure sustainable returns over a period of time. And by the way, that S is the sustainability. Sustainability isn't looking after the planet, that's encapsulated in the E. Sustainability here is making sure that what we do lasts forever. And then the last component of the double S is the people. Involving the people in the decision-making relating to the way in which we look after our real estate. And I'm thrilled that today there are two people from whom we have learned so much, who have indicated and have shared such incredible examples of the SSG. I think that it's well worth this room understanding that ESG is important. Little ESSG is probably more important.
Agree. And I would 100%, that's actually my personal opinion as well.
So one of the things that we were talking about when we prepared for the session was the whole idea about the reduction of a mall's carbon footprint. Would you elaborate?
Reduction of carbon footprints is a very fancy word. It's again a European and a Western word. But in a nutshell, what it means is, what will you do to ensure that the green cover that we have is brought back or at least maintained at the level it is? For that, the E word becomes extremely important, because
Yes.
that's where that importance is there. And as a shopping center, I think you can do a lot to, as your contribution towards reducing the carbon emissions. It starts from the architecture of the mall. Before you build a mall, you have to decide that, okay, how do I ensure that I build a mall which will consume less energy? I think that starts with the first premise, which is a very difficult premise, because you have to please a million customer in a month, and you have to please 500 retailers also. But it's a very difficult choice to make. But then that's where you design your mall in a manner that how it can be designed by way of natural air cooling, minimize air con loss, minimize water consumption, minimize electricity consumption, minimize waste creation. So all those, when you design a mall, you have to keep all those aspects in mind. So the designing of the mall is one very important parameter which you have to keep in mind if you are really interested in reducing your carbon emissions. What you call that is what you, in the parlance of technical words, you call that as a sustainable architecture. So you have to strive to achieve the sustainable architecture to ensure that you achieve certain levels of reduction in carbon emissions. The second most important point that I want to do is, before I get into what the mall can do, I think within the premises, I think it is very important that what they will do along with the community to reduce the carbon emissions in and around. Because that's one very, very critical ball game which happens around the mall. The activities that you do, will the customers of the mall follow in helping in achieving those objectives in and around, for the, whether it is a residence around your mall, whether there are offices around your mall, whether there's a hotel around your mall, how your neighborhood is going to support you in your activities of reduction of carbon emission. So building support around your neighborhood is extremely important. Otherwise, you become a solo player in that zone which does everything, but everything around you is giving. So if anybody comes, he sees that that is beautiful, but in and around everything is extremely not conducive for reduction of carbon emissions. So that becomes extremely important. As a mall, the third thing that you have to do is very good ethical labor practices. I think that's very, very important. When you build a mall, you have to ensure that the laborers are also given the facilities that are conducive to your carbon reduction in emission, and that's where the education of the contractors comes in. And that's very, very important, and that's actually easier said than done. It's very difficult to get contractors like this who are equally committed to reducing the carbon emissions. These are all the aspects which you have to take care when you're building a mall. Once you have built the mall, then you have to now focus on certain aspects which are under your control, and which actually is the time when you start generating energy, start generating carbon emissions, and you have to reduce that. Obviously, the first is water and electricity. These are the two main things which are to be used. So water, you can use multiple ways. One is what all malls, and as a government regulation also now it is more or less implemented in the country, what you call as the zero discharge buildings. 80%, I would say, if 100 buildings are given a license of zero discharge, actually only 20 comply to it 100%. 80 of them actually still don't comply. because they do not have the ability to do it the way it is actually envisioned as a thought of zero discharge. But those 20 who do, they really invest a lot in systems and processes and in hardware, which is what you call as the sewage treatment plant, water treatment plant, and all of that, which ensures that you can actually do a zero discharge. You don't have to you reuse the water which comes in and keep using it and only supplement what is lost because of certain say in HVAC you lose some water, in horticulture you lose some water. That water cannot come back to you, so you buy only that much water, which is a very restricted little amount. Rest all is recycled, recycled and recycled. This helps in obviously consumption of less water. The indirect benefit is you reduce a lot of spend on water as well, so it becomes very cost efficient to you. So that helps a lot in reducing water consumption. The second way is conservation of water. This was reuse of water. The second is conservation of water. By conservation of water, what you mean is rain harvesting. So that is one of the ways that you can store all the water which is coming to you in your premises, build up large water harvesting tanks. Good organization build a very, very large water tanks for rain harvesting, and that water becomes useful to you when you want to use it. So you recycle that water once again and bring that water back. So this is the second step in water. That is what I would say that this is a way to reduce your carbon emissions. The third is you generate a lot of waste in the mall. Lot of food waste, lot of plastic waste, lot of cardboard waste, lot of paper waste, lot of uniform waste. How do you recycle all this waste without impacting the environment? Lot of different malls and lot of other assets of other classes use various products, but mostly in the malls you will find something as OWC, what they call as the machines which converts all your final byproducts into manure, which goes into your horticulture. So use of OWC becomes very, very important. And that's how you reduce your wastages, which goes into the fillings everywhere else, which becomes impossible. And a lot of people ask that, can plastic be recycled through OWCs? There are various ways. There are various equipments which are coming, a lot of induction heaters and all of that, which recycle even plastic as well. If the volume is of that nature, they also recycle plastic. So a lot of malls deploy this facility also, so that even by that nature, you are trying to reduce your carbon footprints.
Sure. I'd like to share an example, if I may.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
We built a mall with the Commonwealth Development Corporation on the Thika Highway in Nairobi called Garden City. The biggest concern from the neighbors who lived in a slum was that our mall was going to use all their water and all their electricity. And we were able to show them that in actual fact, with all the savings, we were able to run our 450,000, 4.5 lakh size shopping center so optimally that there was more than enough water and electricity left for them. And I think that must be an objective of any realistic real estate investor and operator in any country, certainly looking towards the future.
Then comes power.
Yes.
You can save power, you can generate green power. So power saving becomes very important. So capital investment into proper heating and cooling equipments, all the equipments that you buy, that you install, all the motors, pumps and all of that, buy them, in our residential kind of individual purchase, you find those 5-star rated equipments, 5-star rated fan, 5-star rated TV, 5-star rated refrigerators. Similarly, you find such power efficient heating and cooling equipments, pumps, motors, so invest more in them. Ensure that you stop using all other incandescent and halogens and all of that and start investing in proper LED lighting across your mall that reduces power consumption to a very large extent. Start either buying green power or solar power. When I say green, install on the rooftops or buy somewhere solar powers or invest. There are a lot of government schemes available by way of which the power reduction, which Jain was also saying that, is all malls are on alternate power, green power, I think most of the malls, hotels have started getting into it, and India is giving a big push. I think one of the largest green commitment of building green power, solar power is coming through India worldwide. So I'm presuming that green power will become the way forward, and thermal power and coal power will actually reduce its contribution. So that's anyway going to happen in India, but that's very important. The very important parameter that I want to tell what a shopping mall can contribute towards green emissions is efficient parking. What happens is, on a peak Sunday, in a good mall, a customer has to wait 15-20 minutes to find his parking space after he enters the mall. And each car, that means, is spending 20 minutes idling around trying to find a space which could have got within a minute if everything was available to him. How to minimize this emission is a very, very important point to ponder and bring about a change. Of course, easier said than done. It's a very expensive proposition to build extra parking or build parking for Sunday or a holiday ability and keep the parking empty the other days. But this is one area where if you're able to find the shortest time for a consumer to park, I think the contribution of the shopping center will go dramatically high, because that is real carbon emission which is coming from 10,000 cars on a Sunday for 20 minutes. That's a huge volume. Into 52 weeks or 104 weekends, add Indian holidays, it's almost 120, 130 days of carbon emission for 10,000 cars, reduction by 15 minutes.
And also the frustration.
I don't have the mathematics of that carbon emission right now.
And also the frustration of having to sit waiting to park and get out. Yeah. That leads me to my next subject.
I would like to give
please.
2-3 more examples. Many shopping malls are actually providing ability for electric vehicle charging for consumers. I think that is one very important parameter that as a shopping center we must delve into and create as much of space as possible for electric vehicle charging, because that is a direct contribution to carbon emission reduction. One, you are inviting electric vehicles instead of diesel or petrol vehicles. The second is you are giving them the ability to charge there, which motivates him to come to the mall with his EV. And the sales obviously will have a big advantage over there. So that's one very important parameter that one must do. Very important is, in a shopping center, there is a good 5,000 staff working. And as an office, you generate a lot of waste. Sometimes hazardous waste, sometimes e-waste. And they all contribute towards carbon emissions. How to minimize, how to ensure that it is recycled in the proper manner. I think this is one responsibility that the shopping centers as an organization must take up, so that you actually achieve the objective, because these are very easy things. You don't have to do much. You just have to ensure that you guide it, ensure that things are going in the right direction, and ensuring just a discipline, and you're contributing towards reduction of carbon emissions.
Yes. I'm touched by the examples that you've presented and that Jayan presented earlier. And what comes to mind is that innovation and creativity is everywhere, particularly here in India. And I'm wondering, certainly from your portfolio's perspective, how do you see more prop tech being incorporated into shopping centers?
When you say prop tech, means you're saying technology.
Yes, but I must admit something, ladies and gentlemen. I'd actually seen adverts for the Galaxy phone where you open it and it comes out to be like a TV set. Well, Rajendra actually has got one. I'm very taken with it. It really is. And to see him navigate this with these fingers, it's absolutely remarkable. But yes, innovation and creativity and technology gives us that lovely colloquial word, prop tech, lovingly attributed to technology that is in place in real estate.
I love this word technology. People talk very negative about COVID. But what COVID has done is it has brought technology to the forefront of everybody. I think there is not a single human being who's now not touched with technology. And I take example of my father, who's 85 years old. In COVID, he ensured how to learn Facebook and WhatsApp and Instagram. So I think when, that's what was available to him as a pastime in COVID. So, and I'm giving an example, but I think technology has touched everything in the COVID that has hastened the growth of technology in a way that you can't imagine. And if any business is thinking that they will be away or they don't need technology, it's only a matter of time that it has to perish.
Exactly.
Whether it is a property business, whether it is a pharma business, whether it is a technology business, whether it is a movie business or whichever business, I don't think there's any business which can say I will stay away from technology. And same applies to property also. Obviously, the asset management, the business of shopping centers cannot stay away from technology. And I think in the last 5-10 years, the technology has grown immensely for shopping centers as well. It's only what you can think. I think it's achievable. Somebody's already there to give you. So if somebody thinks that I want to do this in my shopping center using technology, I think there is a vendor available for it.
There's actually a lovely analogy in 1890, 1900. H.G. Wells wrote a lot about science fiction. And up until the 1890s, 1900s, what's interesting is that the world was influenced by what we see and what we touch. Life imitated art. I beg your pardon. Art imitated life. In other words, what was drawn was a reflection on our life. Suddenly, from then on, our freedom to think and dream and innovate and create allowed us, actually, for life to start imitating what's in our head. And you're right about COVID.
I'm a movie buff. I call 2 movies as defining in the world.
Look. Star Trek, right?
One is Star Trek. So whatever you saw in Star Trek, I think today you are seeing all of that. And the second defining movie I personally think is Avatar. What you saw in Avatar, I think 15 years down the line, you will see all of that happening true. I don't know whether I'll be there or not, 15, 20, but it's only a matter of time. You will see that all happening. I find, so that's the power of technology. I think that's where I'm saying. So for shopping centers, technology has immense, and I think a lot of shopping centers are already using a lot of technology. It's only a matter of time that all of them start using. But as I said, it again starts from when you're designing the mall.
Yes.
When you start the design, that is where you use technology. That's when the maximum technology has to get implemented, because any retrofit is always going to be time, cost, and money invested double or triple. So when you're designing a mall, that's the time when you have to ensure that you buy the right kind of equipments, right kind of hardware, right kind of DGs or STPs or lifts or escalators or elevators or fire panels or fire systems, what all that you invest in a mall as a part of technology. Going a step further from what you invest in technology at the time of the building the mall, how do you, today now all cameras have reached a different level of technology. Somebody was showing me a presentation that, he will convert all my existing cameras into a manner that they can do a facial recognition with some 800 points of one face, so that it can never go wrong. So if next time, even if you see half the face, the camera will recognize the person. So this was like, I never knew that such a technology existed. This is some Israeli firm gave me this presentation, and they used to use this in Israeli defense earlier. But it's like, it's a mother of how necessity becomes the need for invention or need to research how somebody can give you this. It came out in a manner that we wanted to control some kind of a traffic at some location. And we said, okay, facial recognition can help. And can a mall actually have a facial recognition and allow entry to a customer based on face recognition? And that's how this came in, that you can have that kind of a face. So I'm saying the camera has gone to that level. Today, the same camera does your footfall count as well. It does facial recognition, it does footfall count. People are trying to now get into a technology where with the identification of the face, how can you correlate that with his Facebook identity, and how can you reach out to that customer to market him directly, all your schemes and all your Instagrams and all of that, how can you reach out to a direct customer using his face? That's where technology is now taking the next shape. I'm giving you an extreme example. I am to give you a very basic example how a valet service has got digitized nowadays. That a customer comes, his car number is read automatically, he just decides where he has to go. Digitally, it is placed somewhere. He starts getting messages. His car is parked at this bay. If he wants at this gate, that gate, he just has to click something. And these are all advantages of technology the customer is experiencing, which is giving the power of into his fingers that okay, he can do whatever he want with the technology. With by just by walking into a mall, he's able to decide. I want to book a space for my parking. I want to give it here for valet. I want to receive my car back here for valet. I want it at 5:45 only, and I don't want it at, and I want it at that gate instead of this gate where I gave. So all this technology is helping the malls produce a lot of value addition for the customers. A lot of malls have gone into loyalty programs using their own apps, which are, as good as any other loyalty apps that one would see, which is now the shopping of the mall for the consumer from a shopping mall through the app is becoming a reality. You don't have to be a portal necessarily like an Amazon or Flipkart. People are moving into ensuring that how a mall can come in your handset. So that's the next step that people will see in the next 1 year happening. Noon has started this, but that is the only one. That's because everything is owned by them. But you will find soon all the shopping centers actually getting into this.
I want to share something with you. At the IFC Center in Hong Kong, actually, they have the most amazing technology. It's all over the place, facial recognition, this, and number plate recognition, and foot counters, everything that you've mentioned, everything that you'd want. Why is it that the most well-heeled Hong Kong residents still go to the customer services desk when they've finished shopping? Is it because people like people and they want the personal contact? Yes. You know why they go and stand at the counter after they've done their shopping? They don't have bags because the bags have been taken off by some app to their motor car. Their car's been taken to a particular gate, exactly as you say, Rajendra, and is waiting for madam or waiting for sir. Do you know why they are standing at that customer services desk in a queue? These well-heeled people are standing in a queue. Real simple. IFC understands human emotion and human psychology. They also understand that people want something for free. And they're also prepared to stand in a queue and wait for something very worthwhile. And if you stand in that queue, the lady behind the counter, and it's always a lady behind the counter, interesting, she remembers you. Got this incredible brain. She remembers you. Hello, Mr. Rajendra, welcome back. And here's your gift, madam. So the boys get one gift, the girls get one gift. So I was standing in the queue. They didn't know who I was, but they'd worked out that I was new, so they said, welcome to the IFC. Never seen you here before. And they gave me a present. I didn't ask for the gift. I actually asked for the boys' gift and the girls' gift because I'm nosy, right? The most remarkable thing is that that little gift pack was probably worth about $50 a shot. And they were giving it away to everybody. And they continue to give it away on an ongoing basis because they know that madam and sir are going to be back every day. It's like you said, Rajendra, don't just come every week, come every day. And that's what supports their customer retention. Quite remarkable. Rajendra, we're nearing the end of our session, and I'm thinking that we should jump. We had agreed 164 questions, but I reckon that we now need to move to the bonus, with your permission.
Please.
And the bonus question, actually, I think is the most appropriate, because the bonus question that we set for each other was, it's actually your view to a mall's success. Please.
See, mall is a different animal as compared to any other business. Mall is a typical business where you have to have two business teams, the B2B team and the B2C team. The B2B team is what you call as the leasing team, which goes to the brands and gets you the content for your mall. And the B2C team is which goes to your customers and gets you the customers. I think that is a real challenge. Not many businesses have such kind of a challenge that to ensure success of your business, you need both together. And on top of that, you have to please the customer not only by the content, you have to please the customer by the experience. And believe you or not, Indian customer is one of the most demanding customers in the world. And Indian retailers are also one of the most demanding in the world. You have to satisfy
really?
both. And when you're running a business, obviously the business is demanding. Indian stock market is also equally demanding. So you have to show a quarter-on-quarter growth also. A combination to ensure that all three have to be satisfied is very two basic things that I say that in a shopping center, don't run it as a shopping center or a real estate asset, run it as a retail business. I think that is one very, very important key, that if you run your shopping centers as retail business, understanding retail, how that business works, I think your shopping center business will run in a much different and a profitable manner.
I agree.
And ensure that your customer is always hungry for more. You give him that, he feels that I must come here again, I must come here again, because the moment I come here, either I see this new brand or I get this new experience, I see this new event, I see this new product, I see this new beautiful feature, I see this new architecture. All of that are very, very important. And I think the moment you're able to crack these 2-3 things together as a combination in very brief, I think you will have a successful shopping center.
In a nutshell, I think that you've struck gold and diamonds and jewels. But what about the effective marketing and the innovation and the consumption and the financial management? That's all part of the same package.
They are all means to achieve this.
Yes.
They are not the goal is this, and they are the means to achieve this.
I'm always struck, Rajendra, that, and I made this point I think a little bit earlier, that shoppers carry shopping bags and they move around and they go to your competitor and they come back to you. But our shopping centers, your shopping centers, you can't pick up and move. You've got to orchestrate a whole series of strategies and tactics and operational in order to ensure that people come back to your shopping center. How do you do it?
Easier said than done.
Yes.
Getting 10 million people every month to a mall is not a joke. But, you know, as compared to any other mall in the country, I'm very happy to say that as Phoenix, we spend a lot on marketing. When I say marketing means it encompasses lot many things. It is not only the events that we do, it is not only the experiences that we curate, it is not only the events that we do along with the retailers, or not only the social and digital media marketing, or not only the PR. It's a combination of all these things. So we spend, you know, our shopping centers, one or two large USPs we have is we have large courtyards or open areas in most of our malls. So we are able to hold a lot of large events. So Phoenix is one of the operators where, you know, you would find best of the international and national performers and artists coming and performing, which is one big USP we have. We use those spaces for lot many other things other than just performances. Lot of shows, events, lots of flea markets, lots of decors that we do. Our decors are larger than life always. You know, most of our malls have decors which change 3-4 times in a year, and every time you come, every season will have a different kind of a decor, and a large amount of investment goes into those decors. We invest a lot in art. So if you see our various malls, you'll find a lot of art pieces worth a few crores also we have bought to embellish our malls. To give refreshment to our malls as a look and feel, and from an architectural perspective, I think we invest a lot every 3 years, 5 years to give a refreshing look to the mall. which ensures that the customer doesn't feel that he's walking into the same old place. Uh, a lot of effort goes in what you call as the preservation of the property. It should look the way it was built after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So a lot of effort goes into the preservation of the property so that the customer is able to enjoy that. And last but not the least, the content, the brands that the shopping center and what we provide. I think it's always a notch above than competition that we endeavor to give for that locality or for that mall or for that city and the state. So that content becomes actually the real attraction. Everything else revolves around that content to bring customers again and again.
If I may say, spot on. It's always been my feeling with respect to the management and the owning of a shopping center that it all depends on the tenant. The tenant, the operator, the retailer, the franchise, the experience giver, they are the ones who are closest to the market, aren't they? They are the ones who represent the community in which that mall is operated. And in some places, those shopping centers, those tenants are different. So it's not a cookie cutter business. And I think one of the problems that certainly we have in real estate asset management is that I think asset managers would just love to have a cookie cutter. But in actual fact, it's complicated by all sorts of things. And that gets me to my last point before I open up to the floor. And that is that Tom Peters wrote a wonderful book. He said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And in India, I think that's idli and sambar for breakfast, and for lunch and for supper. And I live and die by that statement. Culture eats idli, but culture also eats strategy for breakfast in the sense that if you do not align your mall to the market in which it operates, you're doomed. Would you agree?
100%. No matter how much you westernize your mall, shopping center is actually a Western concept. It's not an Indian concept. Indian concept is bazaars. But we have all evolved now. We have a lot of Western influences. But that does not take away the Western influences. And, the glaring example is a lot of, using your word breakfast, a lot of breakfast product selling companies came into India with the Western products some 15 years ago. And there are a couple of companies now who sell Indian breakfast products, the same companies. They've introduced selling Indian breakfast products. And case in example is Kellogg's. So, that kind of, so you can't run away from localization. You have to measure what is required. So I'm not saying that localize is what everything will work. But that doesn't mean that everything that is westernized will work. You have to have that right balance depending on the city or the location, the state you are. But you can't ignore localization. So today, say any shopping center, the fastest growing category would be perhaps the men's ethnic. The shopping center retailers would agree that that is perhaps one of the fastest growing category. One of the fastest growing categories, skincare and cosmetics. And in that, a huge amount of Ayurvedic products are selling. It's not just that skincare and cosmetics of Bobbi Brown or Victoria's or Lush and all of those are selling. A lot of Indian Ayurvedic products are also selling there. So there's a good combination that you must have which will justify the business. I think that's more important.
I agree. I have a Nairobi-based example just on your point. Nairobians, being Africans, enjoy eating meat. They eat what is called nama choma, which is grilled meat. And they'll eat I hope they know, with all due regard to us vegetarians in the room, it's an opposite example, trust me. In all the 5 shopping centers that I opened in East Africa, every single one of them had a nama choma joint. Can you imagine having a barbecue live in your shopping center? Because if we didn't accommodate that kind of eating, that style of eating, that kind of sensitivity to the broad community, you know what our customers would be doing? They'd be going to the car park and they would have a barbecue in the car park. But you know what? If you can't beat them, ask them to join.
Super.
Rajendra, I am fascinated by your wisdom and your experience and your understanding of Indian and international retail and trends, and you run a most incredible portfolio of shopping centers. And the group here has hardly moved, and I've hardly interrupted either of us. So I'd like to open the floor to any questions for Rajendra. Right? Questions? Gentleman in the green shirt, perhaps. Oh, he waves his right. By the way, I spoke
one question.
I did speak to Mukesh earlier, and all right, any questions for Rajendra? I'm struck that this is the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to learn from people who've been running these big portfolios for years and years and years. This is a wonderful opportunity. We only get it once or twice a year. Please.
I think everybody's waiting for the grand evening, and we are delaying them.
Probably. All right. Am I going to take it as read? All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Oh, hold on. Wait. There's a question, madam. Yes. Hold on. It's getting there quicker than me.
Once again, it is really not a question, but I just wanted to share how I felt. When I'm sitting here, I'm listening to Rajendra and Jonathan, and it was one of the best sessions. I found myself taking notes, and there are so many new ideas which Rajendra brought to the table, so many new problems with, as architects and designers, we can think about, and we will become probably better professionals. Some of the examples Jonathan shared were quite amazing, from the international platform. So thank you so much. It was a session full of learning, I think, for all of us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for being a good audience.
Thank you. You can come again, ma'am. You can come again. Any further question? Okay.
Thank you.
I have a closing statement, if you don't mind. I never interrupted Rajendra and I'm going to take advantage of just 2 minutes. Firstly, Rajendra, thank you very, very much for your wholesome exposure to all of us of your incredible experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I want to remind everybody here that we were here to learn about what the future holds. And today we had 3 very interesting speakers. We had Rajendra and Jayan from the real estate, hardcore real estate ownership and property management. And they stood here, or in the case of Rajendra, sat here for over an hour expounding their views on this incredible industry we have in India. And we had Gopal explaining how best to retain talent and make our respective shopping centers the finest shopping centers, a career for our staff, and to make our employment the first choice for our staff. I've got some closing comments, and they're all orientated in respect to possibly future-proofing our respective shopping centers and portfolios for the next, 10 years, 15 years. The first is that we must remain customer-centric. Oh, sorry, I need the clicker. Thank you. Sorry, just momentary. I can carry on chatting until we get to the final slide, so it's fine. We must remain customer-centric. It's very, very clear from all the presenters that we are here in the service of the customer. The second is that we have to celebrate our staff. We have to engage them and we have to celebrate them. The third is that we've got to be generous with the use of our data, and we must share our data. We don't have to be, we can anonymize our data, but the trends in respect to the way in which we use our assets are terribly important. We must understand that we have a shared learning here today and every day. It's called continuous professional development. We are never too old to learn, and we are never too old to teach and share. Today was an inspirational day for us all, particularly for me, and I'm very grateful for that. So we must continue to be inspirational, and we must be amazing in all that we do, because you know what? Our customers demand and expect that. And these learnings are deep knowledge and are experience-based. You can't get better evidence-based experience and learning than that which we have learned here today. Processes and procedures are going to ensure continual success and sustainability for our industry. We must practice continual improvement. Otherwise, our customers will go elsewhere. I learned today that it's okay to be in competition with each other, because if we are not, our customers will seek out what is good for them and go there. So we must be on our toes at all times. I'm reminded that the more things change, the more they stay the same. I'm reminded that in actual fact, there are some basics that we must apply, and we must never forget. Sorry. And I think that one of the points that was raised earlier that is of acute importance is that our big blobs of real estate, our heap of cement and rebar and concrete and glass, the shopping centers that we own and we manage, is the physical representation of real estate in the service of the community. Our real estate doesn't just have to be a shopping center. It can be all things to all people. And we've learned that from two remarkable experts today, from Jayan and from Rajendra. And lastly, I'm reminded of the immortal words of the late Donnie Gordon, who stood at a shopping center convention and said that retailers will always adapt to changing circumstances. And our job as center owners, managers, operators, is to ensure that the optimum environment exists for them to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm grateful to Images, the Conrad Hotel, all of you for turning up. Thank you. I think it's been a most remarkable afternoon of learning, and thank you very much.